on to our next recap of the pod. A little bit of a different tone here. Skeleton Crew. Okay, for the family. To be clear, Creature Commandos is not. In case you weren't sure, it's not a cartoon for the kids. So the irony here is the cartoon is for the adults, and the live action Skeleton Crew is 100% family fare. Okay, now you Beans did not watch this, and I'll say good choice because this show is not for you. Okay, this is definitely made for the families, and as a family guy, I enjoyed the heck out of it. My kids all enjoyed it. A little drop for you. My kids enjoyed the bejesus out of it. As soon as we got done with the last episode, they're like, okay, so can we watch it again? Like, wow. Right now? Right now? Tempting, but no. But I will say, I thought this was really well made. And I know that Star Wars content as a whole has done some real silly things and inflicted a lot of its own damage on itself. This is the kind of branch content where, no, I'm not suggesting, hey, make this the primary thread for Star Wars, but I do think this is a necessary branch for Star Wars as a brand, because when you can have parents and kids watching and enjoying the same content, I think that's when you know that you've done something quite well. And the production value was high. I mean, how many of these shows have we seen or movies where we're going, oh, your CGI isn't finished, or you don't actually know what you're going to do here with the story. Like, you just are really hoping that I'm not paying attention to that enormous truck-sized plot hole that you just left wide open. And don't get me wrong, I'm not suggesting that this show is perfect or completely buttoned up, but it's self-contained. Okay, that seems to be the phrase of the pod, self-contained. New characters, right? So it's not a, hey, we need to have seen prior to or what's going to come since. That's fantastic. And I just need to give a shout out to Jude Law. Listen, he is at the stage of his career, and has been for a little while, of course, where he can do whatever the heck he wants. Yeah. And he chose to do this, and the guy brought everything he had. So major kudos to Mr. Law.
Question? Yes. This is a spoiler question.
Do it. No, it's fine. This is a spoiler.
Skip in 2 minutes, okay?
Do it.
Was he actually a bad guy?
Yes, bad guy. 100%. Oh, you called it. You called it. Bad guy. Bang! Not a Jedi.
Oh, I knew it.
Both those things are true. Now, he did have Force abilities that he was able to unleash.
Or no?
No, not Sith either. The brief amount of backstory that we get for Jude Law's character, so again, spoilers, is he was a youngling of sorts. So he went through some Jedi training, but didn't complete the full course, shall we say. And then went full pirate. And on that note, can we have more pirates, please, in Star Wars? That was one of the most fun parts of this show. It was pirates for frickin' days with yars and just that tone. I mean, speaking of Alan Tudyk, he does a phenomenal job as Steve the Pirate in Dodgeball.
Oh, yeah.
And his gear, who goes there, is forever bouncing around rent-free in my head.
Oh, yeah.
And there was all of that tone of voice and energy in this show. Another shout out to Jaleel White from my youth, Steve Urkel, jumping in here as a pirate himself. Way to go, Jaleel. Great to see you. You did great, bud. You looked wonderful. That was so much fun. And child actors aren't always the way to go, right? Sometimes it ends up rough. But I thought all 4 kiddos that had significant roles in this series did an excellent job. Particular props, though, to the actor that played him, old Ravi Kabat-Tamers. I think we're going to see that guy in the years to come do some really fun things.
There you go.
He had some above average chops. I was impressed. So overall, hey, this was 2 thumbs up for me. And this is, I'm going to get into this a little bit more here in a bit, but you got your Andor, you've got your Mandalorian, and you got your Skeleton Crew. I think you've got like 3 really sweet veins for Star Wars to lean into.
Yeah.
So call this a win, and let's keep doing it. And I don't mean with the Skeleton Crew cast in particular, but I mean self-contained, family-friendly content that's well made, because it was well made. I was impressed. So Skeleton Crew. Way to go.
I will say, if you like the pirates, watch Clone Wars, because they have a, I wouldn't say significant part, but they do have a thread within the show where they come and go.
Right.
And the main pirate guy is hilarious.
Oh,
so there you go.
I absolutely love that. Absolutely love that. No, so Skeleton Crew was super, super solid. Hopefully looking forward to more down the road. And along with that, I'm just going to pivot right now to my little point of view. I want to dwell on this for a little bit. Star Wars TV shows. Okay. This is the way. We've talked about this before on the pod. This is what Star Wars should lean into. Maybe make a movie here and there, but truly lean into your TV shows. Major props to John Watts, okay, of Spider-Man, for those of us that are of interest on this pod. In other words, the content that we like to follow, the superheroes. He crushed the Spider-Man trilogy that he was handed in the most recent MCU. He did a great job on this show. Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau, what they have done shepherding Star Wars TV shows into this live action genre has been largely outstanding. I know that there have been some Star Wars shows that have missed the mark or been incomplete. Like I'm thinking of the Obi-Wan show. Obviously, the Acolyte was super, super rough. But I think you have more hits than misses with The Mandalorian, with Andor, with the Skeleton Crew, with Ahsoka. Book of Boba Fett is the only one that Dave and John in particular have had their hands on that was a little For the most part, those two guys are hitting a really sweet thread in vein of Star Wars original content that isn't leaning heavily into the lore in an imbalanced kind of way, in my opinion. Everybody has a different Star Wars experience. Star Wars has kind of become like Superman. Everybody knows it so well that they go, oh, well, you don't know it. I know it. Fine. But for my money, if I'm Disney, if I'm the overseers and the overlords of the Star Wars content, I'm just continuing to write John and Dave blank checks and saying, hey, pitch me all your ideas and I'll shoot down the craziest ones. But you guys keep churning out the TV shows, because when these two guys have their hands involved, the production value is where it needs to be. The story is solid, if not spectacular. This is what I would love to see more of. Movies be darned. Let's lean into the shows, guys.
And I think that's just a testament to Dave and John respecting the source material.
Yes.
And respecting George to that level where they're like, this is how he would probably want it.
Right.
They understand the world very well. So to be able to build on that and be like, we know what works and we kind of have an idea of what doesn't. I mean, look at Star Wars Clone Wars is essentially the blueprint for all of this, if you think about it.
Right.
Because that's where Dave Filoni really got his groove.
Yep.
Was Clone Wars. And you can tell, like, he just does such a great job of inserting new characters into an already established story and being able to not only flesh out new characters, but make us care about old or current characters that were in the movies and everything to just continue that trend. I think of Ahsoka being inserted for Anakin and that, and it grew Anakin's character even more through it, along with her. Obi-Wan got all his screen time. They managed to make Maul 10 times better of a villain than he was originally, and everybody has that love for Maul, but in the movie he sucks, right? It botched. It did not hit the way that it should have.
Doesn't have a lot to say, if anything.
They build out Dooku better, which Dooku actually was one of the better Sith in the movies. He
does well in the movies. Well enough, I would
Grievous
say.
Gets more screen time and is able to be fleshed out. Characters that don't have that time on screen. I mean,
it sounds like you're describing character development.
Correct. But like
you have novel idea.
But you have Jedi that you see like Plo Koon and Kit Fisto, and those are cool looking characters that you want to see more of, and they have the lore behind them. But they get their own episodes in Clone Wars.
You don't get any of that in the movies with those characters.
You don't. No. So
you just get the aesthetic appeal of that guy looks really cool. But that's it.
But Dave looks at that and is like, let's flesh this guy out. Let's give him more of this. Let's show you other Jedi.
Yep.
And great, because Star Wars is such a big, big world where you can do anything you want to do.
Right.
It's limitless essentially limitless with
Right.
what you can do.
Thousands upon thousands of years of lore.
Galaxies,
Any
worlds.
Clone story you want, any time frame you want to insert your story into the wider Star Wars story. I would put the movie making on the shelf unless there's something that I, am totally out of step with in terms of what kind of viewership and overall finances they're able to generate. But what little I pretend to know about the movie and show making business at this point is obviously there's the box office receipts, and I use the air quotes because that's not a thing for a TV show.
Right.
That's a part of it. The merchandise that you generate is has become, if not the primary driver, one of the most significant drivers of whether or not a piece of media becomes successful. And you're going to get people buying the merch because they're going to see the show when you put it on Disney Plus. Almost everybody has freaking Disney Plus, right? If you don't, you're out of the demographic that cares about that particular style of content anyway. But I just don't see how the risk is high. It seems like such a low risk, high reward proposition from a business point of view, but just most importantly, from the storytelling point of view, this is what lends itself to Star Wars the best. Lean into the long form storytelling that you have available to you so you can flesh these characters out and take your time. And listen, when the story runs its course, it's time to tie off the thread. So much more easy and less disruptive to do with a story than it is with movies. I just think it's 100% the way to roll.
Well, I think we're done with Skywalkers.
There is no doubt.
We need to be done.
There is no doubt.
So if you do a movie again, you either go way into the future or you go way into the past, and you build up some of the other older Jedi that you had established in the Clone Wars, and build them up before any of that, and then call that a day.
Well, what's wild to me is you can have simultaneous threads active. You can have Andor coming out, which is going to be strictly for the adults. It's drama driven, and you can have Skeleton Crew coming out at the same or very similar times, and they're not going to create conflict for viewership. You're just going to saturate the viewership market with content that is going to be consumed. So there's so much less opportunity for conflict within your own production. It just seems too easy. I'll be amazed if that's not the direction that Disney and Star Wars chooses to go. Hope they do too, because I think it's going to result in some phenomenal, the right balance of quantity and quality of content for us, the dear viewer.
Agreed.
Yeah, good. Thanks.